Welcome to the Ultimate Bloons TD6 strategy series, where I'm going to be showing you strategies for every single tower from the Dart Monkey to the Beast Handler and every single path in between. This will show you how to diversify your setup and get better, along with seeing some stats, tips and tricks, and all of the strategies for every single one of the towers. And although that the series is geared more towards Chimps mode, this will also show you a lot of tips and tricks that apply to the standard game and will allow you to win with a new style. So today we have the last of the ice monkeys, which is the Icicle Impale, coming along with the icicles and the cryo cannon. So let's get straight into this one. So starting off with the status, the cryo cannon is kind of a ceramic support. This guy used to be a lot better, but a lot of nerfs and overshadowing made him a bit weaker. The icicles is also the same thing. It also got a recent buff. I'll talk about that later in the stats. But then moving on to the Icicle Impale, this is kind of the main focus. It's DDT support and heavy Moab support. Pretty cool tower, and we'll be checking out how to use him later on. So for the stats, this guy a while ago used to be pretty good and like top tier. Like if you needed something to deal with ceramics, you usually would get this guy. Nowadays, not so much. Works a little bit, I guess, but there tends to be better options usually. And the icicle is an interesting thing because it's an enhanced version of this, and it also does a fair amount of damage, which is an interesting mix compared to the other options for stopping ceramics. And it also has this buff now where it does a little bit of damage to Moabs, so it will deal with ceramics a bit better and do a little bit of damage in the meantime. And Icicle Impale will ramp this up, but now instead of just being able to freeze Bloons, it can freeze Moabs, and it sets the Moabs to a set speed, which is pretty interesting. It's an interesting gimmick. This means that it's usually really best at taking out DDTs because it slows them way down. Now the cross paths here, it's a little bit interesting. There are some exceptions, but normally you want to go 0-2, 3, 4, and 5. So like 023, 024, 025. This just gives better uptime. It's going to grab more things. However, 025 Icicle Impale cannot hit a DDT without MIB or MIB skip. In this case, if you can't realistically get any MIB or MIB skip, then you would want to get a 205. Now, it is not worth getting an MIB specifically for an Icicle Impale because 205 is pretty good. It will stop the DDTs very well. But if you just so happen that you have an MIB or an MIB skip, then you can do that. You can also AMD buff it. I'll talk about that later too. So now let's take a look at the buffs. These are, again, support towers. You're going to be seeing this a lot, so you typically aren't going to have much. If you have an Icicles or an Icicle Impale, you probably want to get a primary training. For the Icicles, it may not be totally worth it, but for the Icicle Impale, it's definitely a huge boost. And also, you can do a 025 and still allow it to hit DDTs if you can get some acidic mixture dips to only be in range and hit the Icicle Impale. This isn't going to work all the time, so just note that. And then also for an Alk buff, it will also increase the stats and help it more consistently deal with the Bloons, but it isn't totally necessary. If you have the option to, could be a little bit of an advantage. Same with like Alk buffing a super glue. But as you can see, a 205, if you set it on strong with just a primary training, not even a primary training, will still be able to deal with a fair amount of DDTs for a while. It's going to pretty much be the same effect if you have a small amount with a 025. Just the extra pierce and extra attack speed might help with like some other heavier rounds. And for maps, it's good. These are support towers, so they're going to be good where the support from the strategy is needed. Not really too much going on there. That's kind of really how all of the support towers are going to work. And now the objectives that we have is going to be Icicle Impale for ZOMG support, Icicle Impale for DDT support, and then we'll look at some cryo and icicles as ceramic support later too. So the first example here is going to be on Polymephis. This map sucks. It's really stupid. I don't think anybody likes this map, but I'm going to be checking out a strategy where we're both generally weak to ZOMGs and DDTs. So that's going to be something like Psy with a Spirit of the Forest, which I'm going to be going for. So just a lot of like high pierce, low damage is generally what we're looking at, and that kind of fits the bill for Spirit of the Forest very well. So we're going to get that up. I'm just going to grab like an assassin for round 40, not too much. This is a very like I guess, unconventional strategy, because there isn't like any set method to building. As long as you in some way or another get to Spirit of the Forest within a decent amount of time, tends to work out just fine. So I'm just going to get something to deal with Moabs, that Moab Assassin. I'm going to grab some Phonic Resonance too, and then I believe I end up going for like an Arcane Spike, and then I'm going to out buff that Jungle's Bounty, so I'm going to be able to deal with like the insides very well. Size also going to help clean up, and then I'm going to get Spirit of the Forest. So nothing really too complicated here. Again, this is kind of just like there's no like set build order for this. You just get what works, gets you to the point, and it's going to do very well. Also, in a little bit of sense, I'm going to have the showcase of the Icicles doing a bit of work here for the ceramics. Not really a whole lot though, because Sai can clean it all up with the abilities, but it's, I guess, just a little bit of a showcase. I'm still have more than enough money to get Spirit of the Forest before round 80, so we'll just do that. There's our Spirit of the Forest, and now we can go for the Icicle Impale. So as you can see with the Spirit of the Forest, it lays the vines all over the track. It has a high amount of pierce. It's going to affect all of the Bloons, but it's going to do just like a bit of damage over time. So if we have something that can really like slow down the Bloons a lot, then all those Bloons are going to be over the Spirit of the Forest for a long time, dealing way more damage. So that's kind of what we're doing here, slowing down the ZOMGs, I guess the BFBs too. The Moabs tend to like sneak by a little bit, but Spirit of the Forest has no problem dealing with that, and the DDTs and ZOMGs especially, I guess, is what I'm talking about. I'm going to get the 025 here, and as you can see, this is what I was talking about with the acidic mixture dip. If you get them far away where they're only in range of the Icicle Impale, just 2 of them, you'll have an 025 that can deal with all of the DDTs. Now if you can't get away with this, then don't do it. It's too much of a risk. And lastly, I guess, for the strategy, we're weak against round 100, so I get a Moab Eliminator. That's also just going to help me deal a little bit of Moab damage that I might be missing, but otherwise, the Icicle Impale is doing a great job at cleaning everything up. Anyways, this map sucks, and it was a pretty interesting and cool way to beat it, using the power of the Icicle Impale, and I guess a synergy with, in general, low damage, high pierce towers, such as Spirit of the Forest. Now let's move on to our next example, which is just going to be looking at like using the cryo cannon for cleanup. You could do cryo cannon here, but I'd go for the icicles, just some extra damage. So if we have a strategy that doesn't do very well with cleanup, or there's going to be, well, I guess ceramic cleanup in general, it's not going to do much to Moabs. But as you can see here, a bunch of ceramics are getting by this attack zone build, so we can have just that one ice, and that's going to be helping a lot. It's going to be stopping all the Bloons, well, not all of them, but most of them, so that the Spike 9s at the end could deal enough and take care of it. There's also a bunch of options. This is one of the options, like Impact or Druid, stuff like that. So just an open mind if you want to maybe try something different. These guys definitely do work. Now we're going on from one horrible map, Polymephis, to another horrible map, X Factor. A lot of people also hate this map a lot. So this is going to be another showcase of kind of more so using the Icicle Impale for just the DDT specifically. So if you have a strategy that is very weak to DDTs, then you can definitely get Icicle Impale to go in and kind of just deal with that all alone. So I'm going to have, I believe on round 99, the Icicle Impale is going to show up and save this Avatar of Wrath strategy from brutally dying to fortified DDTs on X Factor. Sounds like something it would do, to be honest, and definitely did, so we'll check it out. Anyways, this early game is kind of bizarre because it's an Avatar of Wrath setup on X Factor. Not really the most conventional thing, and also this map is just like really hard for stuff that isn't like snipers, super monkeys, or ninjas. So yeah, we'll take a look at an interesting way to build Avatar of Wrath in some bizarre situations if you're interested in that. You'll see that I go for the, what is that, the Tornado Druid of the Storm, I believe is the name. I'll just call it Tornado because that sounds better. And for the early game, that's something that I haven't really seen much, but on these tough maps where it's like really short and you don't have like any time to take out round 40, having that to be able to blow back the ceramics inside for such a cheap price actually can really make your round 40 a lot easier as you saw there. So you just have like your brambles, set the brambles onto the Moab, and then your Druid of the Storm will blow them all back. Round 40 is a lot easier. That helps out on like a lot of these super hard maps, and plus we'll have that for the mid game going too. Very nice and easy. Then I get my village up, all of these Populus, and I'm gonna alk buff these guys. Alk buff is huge on them, and that will save up, although it doesn't really look like, well, it kind of looks like it's struggling a bit to some of these just like regular Bloons, but this is going to go way into Avatar Raft. It's going to be very chill. I do get Ball Lightning. I don't think that was particularly necessary, and it kind of did waste a little bit of money, but if you have a little bit of a more chill map and you didn't really have to spend so much money like frantically around at the early game, I guess that could be an interesting play. But yeah, so get that, and then we'll get Avatar Raft, throw MIB in there so that Avatar Raft can actually hit the DDTs, and then we're going to be moving on. Now, I don't have much like to talk about here while this recording is playing, so I guess I'll say something interesting about this map. This map originally didn't have like that weird thing in the middle, and it used to just be open and it crossed over, but it was thought to be like too easy in the development, so they added the thing in the middle, and I think that's why there's like these really weird line of sight things, because snipers can shoot straight through it, and like a lot of towers can too, but there's also like weird, I don't really know how to describe it, like sometimes like the overlays, like the ZOMGs and Bloons like will go underneath towers. It's very strange. This map is very odd, and for a while there is 0.04% water on this map, so like kind of a bit of a strange map. Not the most fun, but yeah. So anyways, let's get Icicle Impale here. We're going to be getting it on 98. It's going to help a little bit with round 98, but the Avatar Raft seems to shred it, and now we're going to be able to take out 99 no issue. Without that guy, those DDTs would have been very happy to slip through. Even with the Sabo on top of that, it did still get kind of close with Sabo and Impale. So yeah, definitely saved this run very hard, taking out those DDTs on 99, because if not, they would have completely slipped through. Avatar Raft is particularly weak against DDTs, so if you have a strategy that's very weak against DDTs, adding an Icicle Impale as late game support definitely would help a lot. Anyways, that's all, and goodbye, have a nice day.
Thanks for watching. If you want to help out the channel, you can check out these new videos, like and subscribe for more content, support the channel by becoming a member, and joining the Discord to chat with the community. Bye!